Councilor Condon. Here. Councilor Crowe.
Here.
Councilor Linehan. Councilor McDonald. Here. Councilor O'Malley. Here. Councilor Seega.
Here.
Councilor Simonelli. Here. Councilor Spatafora.
Here.
Councilor Winslow. Here. Council President Murphy.
Here. Okay. Okay. Under the provisions of the open meeting law, please be advised that UMA, Urban Media Arts, will be recording this evening. So please be aware that there will be video and audio recording. Also, Councilor Spatafora is joining us via Zoom, and he will, because of that, we will be doing roll calls all through the night on anything that we do. Okay. The Zoom is also being recorded. And that's it. First order of business, please.
Malden Poet Laureate C.D. Collins will appear to present work being done throughout the city to advocate for literary arts and advance appreciation of poetry for all.
CD, Ms. Collins, if you wouldn't mind coming up to the podium, please. We are so thrilled that you are here this evening with us. We are very pleased that you were one of many folks who put in an application to fulfill the new position of Poet Laureate for the City of Malden. And we heard that you, right after getting approved for the position, that you immediately hit the ground running with our high school graduation class. Oh, I had you on. Hold on a second. There we go. There you go. You lit up. You might have to pull that down.
How's this?
That's perfect.
Okay.
We can hear you fine there. So, you know, we as a City Council want to welcome you here tonight with us. We're dying to hear, you know, a little bit about your vision and what you would like to see as we move forward through 2024 and how it can impact our great city. So we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much for this honor, and thank you for inviting me tonight. The Poet Laureate is a tradition dating back to the 14th century.
Thank you.
I'll start over. The Poet Laureate position is a tradition dating back to the 14th century. The Italians, of course. We write poems and we read them in public. Since I had the honor of being selected in July, I have read for Malden High School graduation 2023, the Trans Vigil during Pride Month, the Veterans Day ceremony this past Saturday, and Gallery 57 reading on Sunday. I'm happy for any of you to call on me to read a poem for an event. Some Massachusetts laureates have launched their own projects. I have a project also, the details of which I will share with you this evening. Somerville's Poet Laureate, Lloyd Schwartz, has a weekly series called Let's Talk About a Poem. Brookline's Poet Laureate, Jennifer Barber, hosts a poetry meetup. Steve Rettiner, Arlington's Poet Laureate, launched Red Letter Poems. He's got a national following with this. He selects poems and writes essays to accompany them. My poem was selected as a red letter last week. I have been invited to read with other laureates in the state. I'm very pleased to participate in these events to help raise Malden's arts profile in the state. My project is to reach out to the wide variety of populations in Malden to offer my services teaching writing, revision, and preparation for public performances. I plan to put together a series of events emphasizing the depth and breadth of our citizens. I believe that when someone shares their experience, they provide us a bridge to understanding, and that when the heart is moved, the listener's world is also expanded. I believe that positive change happens here, in the heart. When I meet with these groups and individuals, I will encourage them to offer their perspectives about how best to include them in our community. I have planned discussions with veterans, the the unhoused, the disabled, those in recovery, interfaith, and youth. For example, I am in contact with the cousin of the woman who was recently struck on the corner of Main and Mountain. I hope to partner with Malden Reads for a memorial reading that will include the disabled among us. This Friday, I'm meeting with the head of the English department at Malden High School to discuss how I can contribute to their Poetry Out Loud initiative. Last night, I met with my fellow Poet Laureate applicants to discuss collaboration. They're great, by the way. We plan to have a public reading soon. I have done smaller versions of this project through the Malden Cultural Council. I partner with Urban Media Arts and Ann Durso Rose to attract a wide variety of participants in my Courageous Poetry and the Story Only You Can Tell classes. We have given well-attended public performances for the past 4 years. There's nothing like live performance. The difference in my current project is that I'm widening the scope by going directly to communities to offer my services. I invite council members to ask any questions or for clarifications about my project. I also invite you to suggest any group in Malden, especially marginalized groups, to contact. My project is titled Mystic Side Muses. It aims to get poems on the page, then take them to the stage. Questions?
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm sure we'll have a few lights. Councilor Spatafora? You? No? Okay, never mind, sorry. Do we have anyone have any questions? Oh, Councilor Cologne Hayes, 1 second. There we go.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you for everything that you've done so far, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about your project. I have some ideas for some youth, actually, so I'd love to get in touch with you about that.
Good, good.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cologne Hayes. Councilor Winslow.
GCD, I think you almost put the counselors at a loss for words, which is, that's why we need a poet laureate. So, but looking forward to working with you, and it'll be great to see the work of yourself and everybody who's inspired by this effort. And who knows, maybe I'll throw out a poem there sometime myself and see what happens.
Okay,
We'll see.
okay, check you out, okay.
Yeah, take care. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Winslow. Councilor Simonelli.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to say thank you. It was a very well thought out and presentation, and I'm impressed. So I have some events coming up that I would love to give you a call. And
Okay,
have
you
come
have
and-
my card.
Sure.
Okay.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Counselor.
Councilor O'Malley.
Ms. Collins, thank you so much for coming tonight. I had the pleasure to be in attendance on Veterans Day, and I was really moved by you sharing your story of your father and your history, and really sharing such a vulnerable part of yourself with us. I was moved, and I just thank you for that.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. And from the chair, I just want to say really welcome. We are just so fortunate to have someone of your caliber and talent who is willing to step into this role for us and for the city of Malden. And just seeing how you've grasped it and are running with it already just makes me doubly happier that you were chosen for this role. I know you will do us proud, yourself proud, and the city proud. So thank you so very much.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much.
it.
Okay.
Okay, next order of business. Let's see. We have public comment is allowed under the council rules. Each speaker is limited to the subject matter relevant to this evening's agenda and must keep their comments to 2 minutes or less. Clerk, do we have anyone signed up for public comment?
We do, Mr. Brian Hatch.
Mr. Brian Hatch, if you would please come up to the podium, and if you would state your name and address for the record.
Oh, his microphone's
Oh, one second, don't touch the button. Now you're on.
Evening, Council. My name is Brian Hatch, a resident, 21 Ashland Street, Melrose, Mass. Here on behalf of Local 25 Teamsters Charlestown, with 2 members from the Malden DPW Supervisors Group. We want to just, we want to speak on the papers 373-23, 375-23, 376-23. I might have messed the number, but with that being said, we would like to, first, we'd like to recognize Malden's, the city's bargaining committee for recognizing our members for their hard work and their commitment to the city of Malden. We were in negotiations. It was very good negotiations, very respectful. We don't find that in all negotiations. And we are hopeful at the council that you'll approve this contract for our members. They're here tonight. They're long-term citizens and members here, and we're grateful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hatch.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for all your hard work for the city of Malden. Okay, next order of business. So tonight, we have our first consent agenda. Yay. The much long-awaited consent agenda, which actually will, shorten the meeting considerably, and also save our city clerk some hoarseness of her voice. So this evening's consent agenda consists of meeting minutes of October 24th, one appointment being referred to Personnel Committee, 22 petitions being referred to License Committee, 3 papers being referred to Ordinance and/or Finance, and 2 communications to be placed on file. Now, as with the consent agenda, if anyone here or on Zoom has any reason that they would like to pull one or more of these items out of the consent agenda, now is the time to let us know. If not, we will move the consent agenda. Okay, seeing no lights, seeing no indications from anyone that anyone wants to remove anything. Oh, yes. Yes, Councilor O'Malley, one moment, please. Let me get you on. Yes, Councilor O'Malley.
I'm not opposed to anything. My question is, how do we know where things are going? So obviously, it makes sense when it's obvious, like petitions that would go to license.
Exactly.
But like when there are other things that might not be clear about where it goes, how do we know where it's going to go?
Well, if it's money, it's going to finance, and if it's an ordinance, it's going to ordinance.
But in terms of like joint ordinance and finance, which we had tonight, things like, is there a way that we would know where it's going to go?
I don't think it would be part of this. This is
Okay.
just, this would refer.
So it's
And
gonna
as you can see, the joint ordinance and planning board meeting is not listed as a consent agenda item. It's further down in the docket.
I don't, okay, yeah, so, okay, so they'll go to the traditional committees that they would
Yes.
go to? Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay. Okay, do I have a motion to move the consent agenda? Oh, definitely by Councilor McDonald. Couldn't get that hand up fast enough. Oh, actually, Councilor Crowe, I think, beat you to it, Councilor Seega. Okay, clerk will call the roll.
This vote is to approve the consent agenda. Councilor Cologne Hayes. Yes. Councilor Condon. Yes. Councilor Crowe. Yes. Councilor McDonald. Yes. Councilor O'Malley. Yes. Councilor Seega. Yes. Councilor Simonelli. Yes. Councilor Spatafora.
Yes.
Councilor Winslow. Yes. Council President Murphy.
Yes. So that has been approved, 10-0. So now we can skip a number of pages here. Page 4, I know. All right. Okay, so I'm going to actually take something out of order, which is my prerogative at the moment, and I'm going to bring paper 418, prior to introducing paper 418, I'm going to have the clerk read paper 421-23 into the record.
Communication from Mayor Christensen regarding MBTA Community Zoning Amendment Proposal as presented by OSPCD Director Deborah Burke.
Ms. Burke, would you please come to the podium?
I'm just going to take down this Lucky Charm. Good evening. I've been asked to represent Mayor Christensen this evening but I'm also here to, with Michelle, to answer any questions you may have about the MBTA community zoning. So if you would bear with me, because I think it's important that the public hear this as well, I am going to read the letter that the mayor sent to all of you, and it's posted on the city website as well. So it's addressed to the councilors from Mayor Gary Christensen, dated November 9th, 2023, and it's regarding the MBTA community zoning proposal before you this evening. I write to introduce a zoning amendment proposal which will allow the city to comply with Mass General Laws, Chapter 40A, Section 3A, the MBTA Communities Law, by the state's December 31st, 2023 deadline. This proposal is the culmination of nearly 2 years' worth of work by the city to develop the zoning required by law that best serves Malden and allows the opportunity to fully conduct a comprehensive planning and zoning review through a master planning process. There is a summary of the law. By way of background, in 2021, former Governor Charlie Baker signed into law the MBTA Communities Act to address Massachusetts' housing crisis. The law states in part, Section 3A, subsection A1, requires that an MBTA community shall have a zoning ordinance or bylaw that provides for at least one district of reasonable size in which multifamily housing is permitted as of right. Provided, however, that such multifamily housing shall be within age restrictions, shall be without age restrictions and shall be suitable for families and children, with children. For the purposes of this section, a district of reasonable size shall, 1, have a minimum gross density of 15 units per acre, subject to any further limitations imposed by Section 40 of Chapter 131 and Title 5 of the State Environmental Code established pursuant to Section 13 of Chapter 21A, and 2, be located not more than a half mile from a commuter rail station, subway station, ferry terminal, or bus station, if applicable. B, an MBTA community that fails to comply with this section shall not be eligible for funds from 1, the Housing Choice Initiative as described by the governor in a message to the General Court dated December 11th, 2017, 2, the Local Capital Projects Fund established in Section 2 EEEE of Chapter 29, or 3, the Mass Works Infrastructure Program established in Section 63 of Chapter 23A. C, the department, in consultation with the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority and the Massachusetts Department of Transportation, shall promulgate guidelines to determine if an MBTA community is in compliance with this section. As part of the law, the State Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, formerly known as the Department of Housing and Community Development, DHCD, issued a series of guidelines to explain to communities how to comply with the law. These guidelines classify Malden, the City of Malden, as a rapid transit community. We are one of 12 communities with that designation in the state, and require Malden to have zoning that allows multifamily housing by right. The state guidelines set Malden's required unit capacity as 6,930 units, which is 25% of our housing stock per the U.S. Census 2020. That said, this proposal before you this evening is expected to result in lesser growth than the unit capacity due to existing land uses and regional economic constraints. The economic impacts of noncompliance are as such. Failure to comply with the deadline will mean that Malden may be subject to legal action by the state and forfeiture of eligibility for various grant funding programs in the fiscal year 2024 round. In August of 2023, the Office EOHLC revised guidelines to expand that list of grant programs that non-compliant communities would be prevented from applying to, including community planning grants, the Massachusetts Downtown Initiative, Urban Agenda, Rural and Small Town Development Fund, Brownfields Redevelopment Fund, Site Readiness Program, Underutilized Properties Program, Collaborative Workspace Program, Real Estate Services Technical Assistance, Commonwealth of Place Programs, Land Use Planning Grants, Local Acquisitions for Natural Diversity Grants, and Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Planning and Project Grants. I discussed these economic impacts further below. Malden, it should be noted, has achieved interim compliance. After the MBTA Communities Law was passed, the city began the process to determine how Malden could best comply with the law. City staff, led by myself and city planner Michelle Romero, engaged a consultant, Stantec Urban Places, and formed a working group that included city councilors to develop a zoning scenario that would comply with the law. As required by the state guidelines, the city filed an action plan, which was approved by the state, and Malden achieved interim compliance on March 31st, 2023. Michelle, is that 2022? No. Okay, 2023, excuse me. The city has also undertaken the required economic feasibility analysis so that we can include our own affordability requirement, which is higher than the state's threshold, provided the city submits its adopted ordinance to the state by December 31st, 2023, the city will maintain interim compliance during state review for the determination of district compliance. Speaking about community engagement for this project consisted of numerous public presentations to the City Council, including a public hearing held by the City Council and attended by the Planning Board, newspaper articles in the Malden Advocate, a city webpage with information regarding the law and our efforts to comply, and a citywide survey that was available online and hard copy, available in 7 languages, and promoted in a variety of ways designed to gather input from all community members. Additionally, notice was posted on electronic signboards in the downtown. There's 4 of those in the downtown, and the city's social media platforms, distributed electronically to all schools, public and private, and various community and cultural groups, and included an insert with the recent water bills. This community engagement allowed us to obtain opinions and input from all stakeholders, including residents and city officials. Highlights of the zoning amendment proposal before you. The plan Gary Christensen presents to you supports these important objectives. 1, the plan focuses most potential growth opportunities in downtown Malden in immediate proximity to the Malden Center MBTA station. It steers direct impacts out of the neighborhoods, which will alleviate known issues of concern, such as overcrowding, overuse, and parking. 3, it minimizes overall impacts to the city by limiting the size and locations of districts, which is likely to lessen traffic congestion and parking issues. 4, it incentivizes redevelopment of select underutilized parcels in the downtown. An example is the National Grid site at the corner of Route 60, Commercial and Route 60 and Commercial Street. It includes a mandatory mixed-use district in downtown Malden, which helps us achieve the following goals. Maintains the commercial tax base, supports existing established businesses such as Walgreens on Route 60, preserves existing mixed-use sites such as the one we're in this evening, owned by Jefferson Apartment Group. It excludes specific properties in the downtown for clear reasons that are in the interest of the public good. It preserves properties with essential uses such as Stop and Shop supermarket at 99 Charles Street. It supports recent new business growth examples, including the research and development activity that is occurring in the 200 Exchange Street property in downtown Malden. And it protects properties with important community significance, including the National Register property known as St. Paul's Parish at 18 Washington Street. The proposal includes a Malden Center high-rise sub-district in downtown to ensure the longevity of core housing sites. One example, and there are a few others, is the Heritage at 195 Pleasant Street. It includes housing authority-owned property in the downtown to preserve and incentivize potential growth of affordable and elderly housing. An example of that is the development at 89 Pearl Street. It proposes dimensional controls that correspond with underlying zoning for lot size, height, density, and open space. It reduces parking requirements on proximity to the MBTA stations. It seeks state approval to increase the affordability requirements to mirror Malden's inclusionary zoning, which now is at 15%. It maximizes potential new affordable housing by overlaying the new zoning on larger parcels in the downtown to which inclusionary zoning will apply. Let's talk about the master planning, which is the comprehensive follow-up process. Throughout the process to develop zoning amendments responsive to the MBTA Communities Law, it became clear to me that for Malden, a two-pronged approach is needed. Based on feedback received from the state during the pre-approval review process, we are confident that this proposal complies with the MBTA Communities Law, and after successful passage through our zoning amendment process, this proposal will be submitted to the state for final determination of district compliance. I see this as a first prong. With that said, the second prong is to follow up with a more comprehensive zoning and planning process. During a master planning process, we can discuss the ideas and suggestions that we heard during our work to comply with the MBTA Communities Law. To build consensus and reconcile varying opinions with appropriate thoughtfulness, additional community engagement is necessary to fully vet our various options. This no doubt will require an extensive process, the last one took over a year to do, that takes time and effort and should not be driven by the state-imposed MBTA Communities Law deadline. This is exactly the master planning process that was recently proposed by the City Council in City Council Paper 352, 2023. I fully support this process as mayor. The importance of a timely submission. I understand that some communities, and perhaps some within our community, may not be concerned with missing the law's year-end deadline. I don't agree. Missing this deadline would mean we are ineligible for funding for numerous state grant programs for all of 2024. Malden routinely applies for and is often successful in securing these funds for much-needed capital improvement projects. Just recently, through my office's efforts, we were awarded a municipal vulnerability preparedness grant of almost $3 million and a $300,000 housing choice grant to assist with the Malden Riverworks project. Over the years, we have extensively utilized the Mass Works infrastructure program, including almost $9 million that we were provided to facilitate the reopening of Pleasant Street and create the mixed-use development that's here now. And we do have a pending $4 million award that was announced a couple of weeks ago for improvements to Salem Street and Overlook Ridge Drive. In short, these grant programs provide real financial assets to our community, and we should not be willing to put them even marginally at risk by not meeting this law's compliance deadline. I urge you to pass the zoning amendments as proposed to comply with the law and meet the December 31st, 2023 deadline. We can then collectively begin the master planning process that was identified by many of you in the community as being critical to any additional changes to our zoning. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to read that letter.
Thank you. This is, Ms. Burke will be here with us with Mr. Romero to complete part 2 of this, but for the moment, on Councilor Winslow's motion to receive this committee report and place it on file, seconded by Councilor Crowe, the clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Yes. Councilor Condon. Yes. Councilor Crowe. Yes. Councilor McDonald. Yes. Councilor O'Malley.
We're just placing the communication on file.
Yes.
Councilor Seca. Yes. Councilor Simonelli. Yes. Councilor Spatafora.
Yes.
Councilor Winslow. Yes. Council President Murphy.
Yes, the communication has been placed on file. Clerk, would you please read paper 41823 into the record?
Paper 418-23, be it ordained by the Malden City Council that the Code of the City of Malden, Title 12, is hereby amended as follows. To amend Section 12.08.010, Establishment of Districts, and to amend Section 12.08.020, Zoning Map, to establish the MBTA Communities Multifamily Overlay District and mandatory mixed-use overlay district to include those parcels identified in the attached list and shown on the attached map, City of Malden MBTA Communities Zoning Overlay Districts, dated November 9th, 2023, MC MOD-MMUD boundary map, to amend section 12.12 use regulations to add a new section, 12.12.400 MBTA Communities Zoning Overlays as follows.
Okay. We have three sponsors here, Councilor Winslow, Councilor Spatafor, and Councilor Crowe. Councilor Winslow, do you want, or Councilor Crowe, which one would you would like to go first? Councilor Winslow?
Yeah, Councilor Spatafor and I participated in bi-weekly meetings with city staff and the consultant Stantec that really, we took into account the community survey information, the information from the public meetings, and then, worked on 2 or 3 iterations of the proposal that very much narrowed everything down. And I think ultimately, this is called the MBTA, Community Housing Act, and we're having to lead this effort because we have the Orange Line station. So the fact that the proposal that we've come up with is really boiling down to really focusing on the areas in the immediate vicinity of the Malden station really makes a lot of sense. So that's really what it comes down to. A lot of work went into this and a lot of thought and community input. So I think it's a reasonable thing, and I think it's something that's worth then sending out to joint rules and ordinance and planning board committee so we can take that step and get more public input. But I think this is a lot of public input, a lot of input from all of you, and the mayor's office have gone into a proposal that I think that will be a great advancement for Malden, and but also make sure that we don't overwhelm our nice residential neighborhoods. So that's, I don't know if Craig has anything to add, but I think a lot of work went into this, and thank you.
Thank you. I do have some lights on. Ms. Romero, I don't know if you, feel free if you want to come up with Ms. Burke. We do have, the lights are starting to pop up. Councilor Condon.
Thank you. They talk about 2-family houses. What's the criteria to go to a 3? Is that by right too? And is any parking required?
Yes, thank you, Michelle Romero, City Planner. Out of the parcels that are in the proposed districts, there are no 2 families.
There aren't any?
There are no 2 families. I think the smallest is one 4-family. And the criteria to convert, to add units will be based on lot size, density, and things like that. There's only, to my knowledge, out of the 96 parcels, there's only one 4-family.
So that's by right, that 4-family?
That 4-family exists today. Whether it could be replaced, rebuilt, I'm not 100% sure. I would have to look that up. The new zoning doesn't typically allows what the existing units are. In some cases, it allows less units. In some cases, the new zoning will allow more units. So it depends on each parcel's specific.
When you hear a couple thousand units, well, you hear 6,000, but everybody tells me that we won't see 6,000, we'll see more like 2,000. But even hearing 2,000 in this vicinity of the station and looking at the way the congestion is now coming through Malden Square, it kind of makes you think, what are we going to be facing? Are we going to be making a bad situation worse? Or I don't see how it improves the city of Malden. I think what it does is might get the MBTA more customers. But I think we're at a disadvantage too, because we're at the end of the line here. Hundreds of cars come into Malden now. Just being at the end of the line. People from up in Wilmington and, Melrose and beyond, Reading, they want to take the T, they come down, find a parking space in Malden. Places like, say, Wellington Circle, it's in a different vicinity. They have an advantage. Plus, it isn't like the MBTA. We paid millions of dollars for the MBTA. I'm not sure the exact cost, but last I heard it was over $3 million. That's a lot. Over $3 million every fiscal year for the MBTA to be here. So they almost put you back to the wall by threatening you with these grants. And we don't even know what the grants are. And, it's like putting the cart before the horse. Yeah, just vote this in by right. So right now, I'm very skeptical of the thing. So I just don't know what to expect. It's typical state.
Yeah, well, I can make a couple comments. So the unit capacity, which is the number that the state set for us, is what this proposed new zoning is required to allow by right. So that's the 6930 number. So the proposal would change the laws to allow 6,930 multifamily units by right. Allow does not necessarily mean construct, however, because we were basically able to put the proposed new zoning over existing housing units. So you have to look at what's already existing. So if there's a parcel, for example, with a building and 100 units in it, under the new zoning, what we tried to do was match the existing zoning. So the new zoning would allow on that same parcel, for example, in a couple examples, a building with 100 units. So in that particular example, there's no new growth. The zoning allows 100 units, there are 100 units already on the parcel. In Malden, as you're all familiar, we're not dealing with a lot of vacant land here. So we had to put the zoning over existing buildings and existing developments. So the unit capacity is one number, existing units is another, and then the potential growth number is what you're talking about, which is the approximate 2,200 number. But we are in the process of working on an economic feasibility assessment, which is also required by the state in order to match our inclusionary zoning. And as part of that process, we're also evaluating likelihood of development. So at the public hearing, we'll have more information on that, because the likelihood of development is based on market conditions, the real estate, a lot of other external conditions, regional issues. So we will be able to provide more information on actual likelihood of development. Likelihood of development is not going to be 2,265 or whatever the number is. So that's something to consider.
What scares me is we have one main road. Used to be 3 lanes, cut it down to 1 lane to get through. Now we're going to add maybe a couple thousand units. And to me, what that only means, to me as a ward councilor, is they're going to avoid that main street, which is, a pain in the neck right now, and just go all into the neighborhoods to get around this cluster. So I guess it remains to be seen, but right now, I'm not too thrilled about the whole thing, to be honest with you. But I'll listen at the planning board and the ordinance committee, certainly.
Yeah, I would just add again that the potential growth is just that, potential growth. It's not required construction.
Thank you. Councilor Spatafora, 1 second, let me find you. Okay, I know, so how do I get him? Councilor Spatafora, can you unmute yourself, please?
I'm unmuted.
Okay, you wanted to speak, I hear?
I do. I do want to echo some of Councilor Winslow's thoughts. Certainly, this was a multi-stage process for us, Stantec, Michelle, and Debbie. Simple reason is I don't think anybody truly understands the MBTA community zoning law because it has changed several times since we've started the process. At one point, there was no mixed use, and then they changed that. So we were going back and forth several times in the meeting, and it was a lot of work to get to these numbers. And I think that's what really kind of pushed me to start looking at the zoning map in totality, meaning there is a drive by the state, and understandably so, to put in housing. But if you look at Malden's map right now, it's currently very heavily in the housing. And what this forces us to do is really going to look at our tax base the next couple of years, which undoubtedly will become troublesome if we don't continue to either save or increase, at the very least, some of our tax concentration, meaning industrial and business. With that being said, though, I do support this going to the planning board for all the obvious reasons what Ms. Burke talked about with those grants. You cannot apply even if we pass this in the first week in January. The entire year for 2024 is out the door. What I will tell you, though, is I also have the same reservations as Councilor Condon. Any council who served on this knows there's no such thing as probably a perfect project, right? There's always some type of output that maybe not the neighborhood can demand. But the words that scare me on any project is by right or as a right. And that's what has concerned me from day one here. And a lot of the councils brought up the point of having more affordable housing. We all know that this does not do that until you hit after 7 units. So what Councilor Condon said in those terms of adding the 2s to the 3s and the 3s to the 4 in the neighborhoods, they would be by right. There would be no parking requirements, but they would also have they would not be forced to have any help on the affordability component. And the other thing is, Malden truly is a unique community with several different types of neighborhoods in architecture. And I think we should start really looking at protecting some of those neighborhoods simply for that reason and not just turning them into housing. Malden is not a big city, as much as we tend sometimes to think it is a big city, and I think planning must be deliberate, especially as we get less and less room. And what concerns me about this, and again, I'm supporting it, but I want to be very clear, is what concerns me here is we are giving our needs and our controls in the interest of this community to the developers because the state's telling us to do so. And do I think the state's going to come up with additional funding that would satisfy this in the future? I am not optimistic, because I've seen this happen many times in the state. But I support this going forward. I do have serious reservations of it. I know there are some communities that are actually going to sue the state because of this. Because like a lot of the councils who've been here a while, they realize the state they do it all the time with the state and the school department, unfunded mandates, right? They have these great and grandest ideas, and then they provide funding for 1 or 2 years, and then you're out the door, and then we're left holding the bag to figure out what's going on. So there's a lot of negatives to this. I think the team, Council Winslow, and Debbie and Michelle Romero and Stantec did a fabulous job of looking at every scenario that we could possibly do without really ruining, I think, the characteristics of the city. And I think the council, by supporting a complete zoning endeavor, which we definitely and desperately need, will help us in the path that I think is going to be deliberate and help us really plan the future of our city and not allowing Beacon Hill to do so. Thank you.
Spatafora. Councilor Simonelli.
Thanks, Madam President. Listen, I just want to say that I think you guys did a great presentation, great job with what you had to work with. None of this is any of your fault. The state's making us take this vote. Once again, rush through. We don't have enough time. You got to do it. They're going to sue us. They're not going to give us any of these monies. But let me ask this. And look, I know it's 6,000 units. A lot of the land's occupied, probably not going to be built on for the next 50 years or so. And who knows if this thing will happen, probably like Telecom City, But like Paul said, even if it's 2,000 units, we've got to take a real hard look now. And I'm gonna, on the Route 60 project, because they're kind of, back to back. And, hasn't been much follow-through on this, and I'm doing some serious research because a lot of people are upset out there. It's a big 50-50 thing out there, and I've been hearing both sides, and I represent both sides of people. So I'm gonna find out where the breakdown was and who didn't do their job, because I wasn't here when we voted on that whole project. But again, I don't wanna get off topic. I'm gonna stay on this topic, but again, I don't know how we got into the habit of allowing the MBTA to dictate to us as a city, that every time I put on the news, they're in a defunct mode, and they can't get out of their own way. I don't know, when we started being dictated by them. Again, I know Council Winslow, Council Spatafore, a lot of people have been working hard on this because they have to, because, the state is forcing us to do it. I don't even know why they're asking us for a vote. I don't know where democracy went, but, they're pretty much holding us hostage to vote for this. Am I right? Am I wrong? So, I just think it's unfair that, they're gonna just keep forcing this down our throats. I'm with Paul. I don't know where I am with this. I'm very skeptical. I don't like to be forced to do anything, I don't like being bullied on any end of the spectrum. And I feel as though I'm being bullied right now to do these things. And let me tell you, and it's coming from me, Chris Simonelli, the Ward 7 City Councilor, that's probably done more affordable housing than anybody up here. And, I'm the affordable capital of Malden anyway. And I always said that you can put a bubble on Malden and make it all affordable housing, you'll still have a waiting list. And I don't know about any of my colleagues here, but I haven't been too lucky since I've been back in office these last 2 years on helping any Malden families get into housing with the affordability. So I don't know where it's all going to, but it's not going to the people that I know in the city of Malden. I live down in the ghetto, folks, all right? And I don't see any of it. So, again, I guess we have to move this paper forward. I'm not happy about it. Again, I'm not blaming you guys. You guys did a terrific job on what you had to work with the state and the MBTA and forcing us to do this. And like, Councilor Condon said that, we've already taken away one whole lane on a state highway. And now, even these people, 2,000 units, let's say, not 6, say 2, where are they going to school? Is the state giving us money to build a new school? The last time I checked, it was like $150 million to build a school today. And we just got done building new schools. Well, they're not new anymore, 20 years. Shows how old I'm getting. But, I just think it's unfair. I think it's unfair. I think that, democracy's right out the window. And I'm a huge American Revolution buff. I don't like to be pushed around and be told that I have to vote what's good for my city when the people that's telling me this don't even live here. But again, I commend the folks that have worked on this job, Councilor Winslow, Councilor Spatafora, you guys, you've done a great job of what you had to work with. But I just want the public to know that, we're being forced to vote on this. So that's my topic and discussion for tonight there.
Just, I appreciate your comments, Counselor. The effort here was to come up with a scenario that would satisfy the law and help us achieve compliance and take the longer view with the master plan. I've been here working for the city for many years, and it seems that a lot of good work by a lot of city employees, but it seems that we take, I think collectively, a reactionary approach to our zoning. We have an issue in this ward, and next thing you know, we're banning things across the city or whatever. So I think, if anything, one thing that this law is helping us look at is the need that we definitely need that master plan that councilors have advocated for, and take the time to totally think, where we want to go. One other thing I do want to address, we were reluctant to get into the economic feasibility analysis today, and I really can't dig into a lot because we're still going back and forth with the consultants over it, and there's a couple of economics people that will be here for the hearing, if you move this to hearing. It is looking at that 2022 number, or 2,200 number, is more likely 500. So if that just gives you a little sense of where, and like Michelle said, I'm not an economic analyst, but what it looks at is, the particular lot, say the vagaries of that lot, what can be developed there and whatnot. but it also looks at market conditions. So, I ask you to kind of wait until that discussion happens as well, just so that you can get more insight on the economic impact and what will really result. It's certainly not 6,930 units. It's not 2,200. It's probably more like 5. So
Okay.
that's what I have for now.
That's cool. Thank you. That's great.
Thank you, Ms. Burke. Next up, Councilor McDonald.
Yeah, thank you all. Let me echo a lot of support for the hard work, the detail work that has gone into this process. And I want to just, offer a slightly different perspective, which is that we're in the middle of a housing crisis. And it is one of the top threats to the future of our community is whether people can continue to live here, whether people who have kids who grow up here can start and raise their families and start their careers in Malden because the price of housing is so high. And this is not a Malden problem, it's a regional problem. But that's why it takes a state-level solution. And so the thing that I appreciate, as much as obnoxious as all of these little rules from the state are, and the spreadsheets and the formulas and all of that, what it does is take a collective problem and give us collective responsibility for addressing it. That's why Malden is not in this alone. I have no doubt that there are 50 communities having parallel meetings with local officials complaining about this law right now, and that's kind of how it's supposed to work. There's no other way to get us to work together to address this regional problem. So, does this give us, any of us, everything that we would want? Absolutely not. This isn't the map I would draw. It's not the map that any of you would draw, even to comply with this. But that's, I suppose, the mark of a decent compromise. And so I just want to say wholeheartedly, I think it's essential that we find ways to appropriately create possibilities for building housing and do the best we can. We don't have perfect options, but this makes sure that Malden is not out on a limb, that we're doing the things that all of our neighbors are also being required to do. And, if we want to talk about democracy, Councilor Simonelli, what I will say is a lot more people vote in state elections than vote for us in terms of the turnout, and this has been a clear priority issue in state elections for a long time. Our city staff can't afford to live in Malden, our teachers can't afford to live in Malden, our kids can't afford to live in Malden. That is the moral issue.
And they still can't. They still can't. You're building the units, and where's the affordability? They still can't. I'm out there every day, Counselor. I'm out there every day, Counselor, with
Respectfully, I
calls.
think that I have the
Listen, I'm out there every day with calls, and I
Respectfully, I
can't
think
get
I have
anybody
the
any
floor.
units. Can you get them in? I'm trying to get a homeless guy that lived in Maplewood for his whole life.
Councilor
You
Simonelli.
got a unit for him? I mean, come on. They're not
Councilor
going to-
Simonelli.
They're not going to Malden
Please.
residents, though. They're not.
Please.
I don't disagree with that challenge. I think that's the challenge we're all trying to tackle here. So at any rate, we will have lots of chance to debate this. I just wanted to voice my clear support for moving forward as the mayor has laid out in this letter. I appreciate the value of a two-pronged approach in saying, let's make sure that we're not endangering any of our city funds while we take the time to have the deeper conversations. I actually did have a question, I'm sorry. The question is, how do we see the parcels affected? I didn't see a map in this, so at what point can we see a map, or how does that even, do we get parcel numbers, or do we
Yes,
just look at the map, or?
Yes, attached to the paper, to the complete zoning proposal, you have the mayor's intro memo, you have the actual text of the amendment.
Right.
You have a boundary map, and you have a list of the 96 parcels, including addresses and parcel IDs. That's a complete package. If you-
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yes, you should have that, yes.
I just had trouble, I think I just had
sorry.
trouble reading that. I didn't know if there was a more zoomed in version. I see the parcel numbers now, thank you.
Yes,
I
if you
understand.
print, I printed it on 11 by 17.
Okay.
And of course, at the hearing, we're going to have it up on the screen, and I can produce some larger maps for you, if that will be helpful. I don't know if you printed it or you tried to look at it on the screen, but everything was attached to
Okay.
the proposal.
Well, I will follow up if I need more help in understanding, and just zooming in on this map.
Yes.
Okay,
Please let me know.
thank
Thanks.
you.
Thank you, Councilor McDonald. Councilor O'Malley.
Thank you, Council President. So to Councilor McDonald's point, there's going to be opportunity to debate this. I guess in terms of how this has to go, is that today? Because it sounds like if we wanted to make amendments to it, say if we wanted the National Grid site not to be in the Malden Center high-density zone, but we instead wanted it to be in the Malden commercial zone that requires ground floor commercial,
The mixed use, yes.
the mixed-use zone. I'm assuming that now, this meeting is when we need to do that because it's going to a hearing? Or would we be able to do that after the hearing, or between when we send it to a hearing and before it is actually heard?
Tonight would be the night to do it. If we are going to meet the deadlines and meet the statutory notice deadlines to advertise for the hearing the first week in December, it would need to be referred tonight, so that first publication can occur this week. So I will mention, though, in terms of this idea of swapping parcels and districts, it's very, very difficult to do, and as the internal group knew that, every parcel's unique, the size is unique, the dimensional controls that are set into this proposed zoning are different, so it's not just a one-for-one swap. If that were to change, the unit capacity number could be changed. Everything's tied to unit capacity and acreage. That's the other thing. So it's not an easy task. We would have to redo more than one calculation to change it, to make sure we were balancing, again, unit capacity that's required by the state and the acreage that's required by the state in each of these districts. So, yeah.
I appreciate you laying that out there. Another example is there's the orange. Well, I don't actually know if we actually have copies of the, I'm looking at it on my phone, so to Councilor McDonald's point, it is rather hard to know what we're voting on right now. I was able to pull it up on my phone, but I'm also just looking at it on a phone. There's also an orange zone, which is like the Oak Grove zone, but that Oak Grove zone, goes down on to Eastern Ave in some portions, like in Ward 1, and that's not Oak Grove. And so for me, it's just if we're gonna change zoning so substantially, I wanna support this. I think everyone knows that. I think that we are probably approaching this from two different perspectives in terms of I actually wanna support this, but I'm also concerned that I don't feel like any of us, no matter where we fall on the spectrum of the perspectives here, have really had a chance to get comfortable with what is the most significant rezoning in our community that I've ever participated in, and probably any of us have ever participated in. And I have to be, and we all have to be accountable to our constituents, and I don't know how I'm gonna be able to go back to them and say that I did my due diligence here and was comfortable with what the final product would be. Because I would like to swap some of these out so that we are encouraging more ground floor retail, particularly in our downtown. But I just don't feel prepared to be able to do that here on the floor, and it feels like even if I did do that, it's gonna throw all of the numbers off. So it does feel a little bit like we have a gun to our head. If we don't pass it tonight, it means we sacrifice all these grants. It's just, for me, it doesn't feel fair. I'm not gonna hold it up. I will send it on. But in terms of you know how I felt about the rules. I just want a chance to feel comfortable, and I think what I'm hearing from my colleagues is we all just want a chance to do our due diligence. I'm not gonna hold it up, but I would like there to be a way that we could maybe amend this.
But to your point, and then Michelle did, it's really a complicated back-end mathematics exercise. It's really, they have a whole module and everything, and she can explain that. But, again, I think we heard what folks had said at the 5 or 6.
I don't think they can hear you.
I'm sorry. We heard what folks had said at the 5 or 6 presentations we've had here. We had the survey results, the other community engagement, kind of synthesized it all to try to come up with the best plan that addresses compliance issues and gives us the opportunity to have a much-needed longer look at what the future looks like in Malden, both in the downtown and its neighborhoods, as it balances against zoning, so. But one thing I wanted to ask, we had extra copies of the map. They're still 8.5 by 11, but if you would like me to bring up a copy so everybody has one, you know, if I have the permission to do so, that's what I was.
Yes.
I mean, I think definitely Paul should, you want one?
Yeah, we had printed out some of those. If I could add too, though, in addition to what Debbie said, we did, you know, in accordance with your rules or your procedures, we did file this on Thursday with the docket, the full package. So, you know, we let several, I believe Debbie spoke to several of the councilors who called with questions. We had hoped, since we were, you know, not unveiling it tonight on the floor, that you would have had time to look at it since Thursday, and then if there were questions, get in touch with us. I'm sorry if you didn't have that opportunity to do that, but everything was posted with you Thursday, so,
Yeah, and I
and I'm
don't,
not sure who Debbie talked to, but,
and I
you know,
don't,
yeah.
and I'm not saying that I didn't look at it. I did review it. I did read the mayor's letter. I did look at the map. I think that kind of what I'm saying is that, you know, even with that, it sounds like if I wanted to make a motion or if I wanted to move to convert the Malden Center high-density zone at National Grid, which is kind of what I'm focusing on right now, to the mixed-use one that would require ground floor retail directly opposite our train station, that would throw all the calculations off, and it sounds like I'm not allowed to do that.
Well, it would throw calculations off. I do want to, and I don't want to call any particular councils out, but in the last version, you saw that was actually the mixed-use district, and the internal group was asked by a councilor to change that. No, it was not you, but, so we, as Debbie was saying, we were trying to take everyone's feedback in, so we took that feedback in. Could that be, you know, just residential as opposed to mixed use? And whereas the mixed use number's limited, we only have 1,732 units we can put in the mixed use district. We moved it around, so for what it's worth, you certainly can propose to amend it. The other option tonight, if you do, we can't, you know, we can't
Could we
confirm
duplicate it?
that the numbers will work. But
Is there a
I
way
will-
we could like duplicate the paper where it's like one that's the original proposal and then the other one that's like a modified version? They could both be heard?
That I'm not sure about, but what I was going to say was, I think Debbie mentioned this, we're going to have a master planning process begin very soon. We also are able to amend this, right? We could begin the amendment of these amendments as soon as we file it. We need to get a compliant plan filed with the state. It doesn't mean we can't amend that plan to come up with a different compliant plan. So if over the course of, you know, the next few months or years or during the master planning process, we want to revise this MBTA zoning, we can do that. We just need to make sure we still comply. We would need to update the state, et cetera, but just because it's going through this way or being proposed this way doesn't mean it can never change. So we could look at that. I wouldn't necessarily recommend you do that tonight, though.
I appreciate that. And the only other location that I was looking at is up on Main Street. They're including the area where the animal hospital is, and there's been various discussions about that. Right now, it's being proposed as the Oak Grove zone, but that's another area where I would like to see ground floor retail, kind of similar to what you see happening on the Melrose side of the border. And so, you know, as the Ward 4 counselor, well, really, it's Ward 4, 2, 1, and 3, and maybe 8, because of the green over here. I would just, I don't know. I'm going to open it up to the floor. I don't want to hold up the debate, but I'm wondering if maybe there's a way that we can do like a second paper that is the exact same, but just tries changing those two, the National Grid and that place up by Oak Grove, to one that requires ground floor retail. But I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not going to hold it up. I appreciate all the hard work you've done.
No, and
Thank you.
Counselor, you know, I hear your remarks.
Could you speak into the mic?
We were trying, one of the presentations here, you know, was to make sure we heard loud and clear from many counselors, you know, before the mandatory mixed use. You know, we want to retain our commercial base. You know, we need our commercial taxes. We want our businesses here. Look what we have in the downtown and whatnot. But like Michelle said, under this law, we are capped at a certain amount that we can allow of mandatory mixed use. So we did focus it in the downtown, you know, just to meet those numbers and capitalize on everything that we could that exists today. But she also can tell you why the other piece of orange in the map is not necessarily Oak Grove, but why it fell under that heading. Do you want to explain that?
Yes, so that actually, it was originally called Oak Grove. It's really transit-oriented development / Oak Grove, but that's not in the legend, and it didn't get carried through. As opposed to coming up with a fifth district that would only include literally 5 parcels, because there were 2 on the corner of Florence and Main, or 3, and then there were 2 on the corner of Main and Madison. So as opposed to creating another district with just 5 parcels, it was streamlined. So we could certainly look at changing the title of it. The Oak Grove that's up in the northern section, those 4 parcels, 2 of which you just mentioned, and then the Oak Grove, which is along Summer Street, is within the Oak Grove area. So I think it's really just, right, the Oak Grove Station. I think it's really just those 5 that you're questioning, which I agree, it was just done to streamline.
And that's probably like that, out of all of it, that's probably like the most minor in terms of, and I apologize, and like this is why I feel so annoying doing this, only because on the floor, like, and that's, I think one of the reasons why it would be helpful to have a chance to kind of dive into this more in committee. Publicly owned parcels, do they count, or are those just included as like a bad?
They're included, so they count in the acreage, but they would
Not in capacity.
typically not include in the capacity number. Although city-owned is different from MRA-owned, is different from Malden Housing Authority-owned.
Okay.
So, you know, it's not public as we think of public. It really has to be city or state.
And I know there's site plan review. Is that where
Yes.
minimum design standards would come in? And like if we wanted to make sure that any parcels that are automatically approved, like for instance, National Grid, if they were to be redeveloped under this, is there a way that the site plan review would require them to do all the sidewalks over, put new street trees, put street lighting in? Is that something that site plan review can control, things that are not on the site but adjacent to the site?
Yes, you have, in the zoning proposal that you received, there were 3 pages worth of development standards. So
Okay.
all these development standards, site design, plantings, lighting, mechanicals, dumpsters, stormwater management, screening for parking, open space, connections, buildings, all different building characteristics, shared outdoor space, facades, and things like that. That's all in here, at least as a placeholder. Is it exactly what you want? You will have to read this, to be honest. And if you want additional language, we would want that, you know, proposed.
We could tweak
During
that?
the hearing, yes.
Okay.
We would call it tweak. These are substantive provisions, but there can be modification of them.
Okay.
So if it falls into any one of these categories, I would say you would have the opportunity to add that.
And then one other thing, in terms of compliance with like our planning activities, so we talked about the master plan, we have other plans that we have, like the Spot Pond Brook Greenway. If a parcel is being developed adjacent to something like the Spot Pond Brook Greenway, would they, or could they be required to comply with the design and maybe assist with that if they're gonna be ripping up all the streetscape in front of their parcel? You know, developing it in a way that doesn't hinder what the master plan is?
I mean, I'm not sure if you could propose, how much you can propose for off-site. I know, for example, site design, there's a placeholder provision, which was a state-recommended provision, that sidewalks shall provide a direct connection among building entrances, the public sidewalk, if applicable, bicycle storage, parking, talks about vehicular access, open space. If there's something in particular, I would propose that you add that.
What's
I'm
that
not
section?
sure.
I apologize.
That's
What-
under Section 3, Development Standards. It's on page 4 of 12. This is of the actual text of the zoning amendment.
4 of 12, okay.
There are a lot of development standards in there.
And I apologize, y'all, this might be the only, I think I probably would be done, wait, oh, my 4 of 12 looks different.
For 4 of 12 is actually your page 8.
8, okay.
The mayor's correspondence at the top.
Okay, so it's page 8 for y'all who are following along on. I'll leave it. Maybe we can add that during the special permit hearing, but it would be great to see if, because there are some parcels here where they do, the Spot Pond Brook Greenway does plan to go directly through this area, and I just want to make sure that, you know, we're on the tip, and it's going to be built, and it would be nice that if these parcels are coming up and they're going to rip up the streetscape and put it back, I don't want them wasting money putting it back for us to then rip it up and spend more tax dollars putting it back. So thank you again for all your work. I look forward to the hearing.
Thank you, Councilor O'Malley. Councilor Crowe. Oh, one second. There you go.
Thank you, Madam President. I really just want to commend the committee for really taking on a daunting task. In, through the multiple presentations, listening to everyone's concerns, really taking that back and continuing to tweak it as much as, we can. And I do think that we've seen multiple proposals. We saw 1, 2, and 3, and what can be worked and what couldn't be worked. And really, I think, try to propose something that minimized any adverse effects on our community while supporting housing. That is critical. I think one of the biggest thing is, well, not the biggest thing, but one of the big takeaways is really opening our eyes again that we need to have a master planning process that really looks at our zoning holistically, how we've talked about a couple times, what's the vision for this, not just what's going on right now and how we're going to react to it, but really what do we want for certain areas. And I think this really, again, kind of pushed that through to say, we need to do this. So I am looking forward to hearing more things at the planning board hearing. So I know there's other questions, but I will make a motion to refer to a planning and ordinance committee for hearing. I guess we'll wait. Yes, and it was seconded by Councilor Cologne Hayes and Councilor Seeka.
I have two people who have spoken that want to speak again, and then I have not spoken, and I would like to speak before the motion is. So Councilor Simonelli and Councilor Condon, you're both lit up again, if you can make this relatively
Yeah, I'll make it quick. Well, thank you, Madam President. Once again, I just want to say that, I respect and I thank the folks that brought this paper forward, because I know you guys have been working aimlessly at getting this thing finished under the time frame that they have given you, under the box that they have kind of put everybody in. So I'm not going to hold up this process, because I know you guys have been working really hard on it, and I just don't like I said, I just don't like to be forced, to. I don't even know why they need our vote, to be quite honest with you. They should just do it themselves. But, I'm not going to hold up the process. It's just the way it is. And I'm looking forward to Councilor McDonald when this meeting's over. Don't go anywhere, because I want you to tell me how much affordable housing that you have developed in the city in the last 2 years. And then I want to bring you by the ones I did. So thank you very much for coming tonight and giving this display. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Simonelli. Councilor Condon?
Yes. If you don't mind, there's 3 or 4 spots there, purple, which represents high-rises. Where are they?
Okay, thank you. Yes, I can tell you those. So these are existing high-rises. One of them is 36 Dartmouth, which is Pleasant Plaza. That's 12 stories.
Okay.
Under the proposed new zoning, 10 stories would be the maximum. So that means if the building were ever demolished or, burned down or removed, 10 stories could be put back up, okay?
36 Dartmouth.
That's 36 Dartmouth, known as Pleasant Plaza. The second,
510
Sorry.
Main?
yes, 504, 520 Main, which is Malden Gardens. That's 18 stories, same thing. You could put back, if it was needed to be replaced, it would be a 10-story. So that we call
99
these
Florence?
high-rise. 99 Florence is not included.
That's a 12-story.
99 Florence is 10 stories, and that's not
10?
included. That's Malden Towers, that's not included.
Okay.
160 Pleasant is included, the one that's right outside here on the corner of Abbott.
That's
In
12.
Exchange, that's 12 stories. And then 195 Pleasant Street, which is Heritage.
Which is
Heritage,
8 stories?
9
9?
stories.
Okay, what can that be replaced with?
That would be 10 stories.
10
But-
stories.
Right, but in terms of the actual numbers, I can give you just a reference number. Just give me 1 minute. So, that is known as the Malden Center High Rise District. Under the proposed new zoning, the unit capacity is 473 units. There are an existing 650 units in those 4 properties. The maximum growth potential, so that, again, that's based on the lot sizes and everything else, all the other particular features of each property, the maximum growth potential would be 18 units.
18 units?
18 units total.
Now, there's 2 pieces of property, the gas company and
Yes.
Stop and Shop, which are
Yes.
big pieces of property.
Yes.
What would they be allowed to, if they wanted to say, go high-rise, what
Stop
can
and
they
Shop
build?
is not included. That was a site we specifically did not include, 99 Charles, because of its value to the community as a supermarket. Even under the mixed use, the mandatory mixed use, we didn't want to include it in that either because we could not restrict it to be supermarket. It would have to be a wide variety of retail, so we wouldn't have any say in what type of retail went on the ground floor. So we kept that. That's out of the district.
But to that point, I think that parcel should be looked at as part of the master planning process, where you would still potentially keep the grocery store, but you may make it a mixed-use development site, so.
And what about the gas company?
Yeah,
What
right
is-
now, that's industrial, so no housing is allowed on industrial property. So on the National Grid site, that is proposed as the Malden Center District. So there's no housing on that right now, and any new housing that's built would be new growth.
At what, 10 stories?
No, the Malden Center maximum height 7 stories.
7?
Same as our downtown 7, our current zoning, I should say. We tried to mirror current zoning as much as we could
Okay,
possible.
thank you.
Yeah.
I'm going to propose to change the National Grid to ground floor retail requirement.
Counselor O'Malley, you're up.
I just know that like when I came in, one of the biggest like complaints I heard was that so many of the developments that we did downtown don't enliven the ground floor. And like here, we did a great job. I know they're still trying to fill out some units. It's a weird market in terms of the real estate market. But I just really am concerned about having the National Grid site not requiring have ground floor retail. I think that's a really missed opportunity to like activate our downtown. So I'm gonna be okay if it doesn't pass. I think it should though. But I just wanna know that I made this attempt. I would move to amend the plan to change the overlay zone for the National Grid site from currently MC, MOD, MC to MMU, which is the mixed use that requires ground floor retail. And the parcel numbers that would be changed are,
There are 3 that compose that National Grid site. You're not talking about the whole block, right? Just the National Grid?
no, I'm talking about the whole block.
Okay, so then there are 6, there are 3 parcels on Canal and 3 that are National Grid.
Okay, and do you know which ones those are?
Yes, I do. Yes.
You do know that if you move that MMU, you're gonna have to take it off of other parcels, because we're capped at a max.
A max percentage?
No, a max number of units. So for example, if placing MMU over that block adds up to, let's say for argument's sake, 700 units.
Yep.
So somewhere else, we have to lose 700 of the pink. So somewhere else where we put the MMU, for example, over the Walgreens, that may not be able to be MMU anymore. So if you switch that to yellow, then that is multifamily by right. You could lose the Walgreens.
Could we just add more yellow somewhere else?
It's limited where we can add it.
Well, because that's the other question I have is, I know that there have been property owners reaching out to various counselors about wanting to be included in this zone. If property owners want to be included in this zone, I know that they are able to petition the council and the planning board to change zoning that would impact their property. Is that the route we should be encouraging people who want to be included, is to file their own petitions and have hearings?
Yes, we did speak to different property owners, and we encouraged them to take the survey, to contact us directly. Several of them did. We did vet several other, as somebody said, there were various iterations of these maps. We vetted almost all of them. The issue, I'll say, with several of these property owners was they wanted to convert from industrial or commercial, so we'd lose our commercial tax base, and they did not want to be mixed use. They wanted to be multifamily by right. So that was not, considered to be, a good fit, we thought, for the city.
Well,
Same,
because
so
that's what we're
why,
doing,
yeah.
that's what we're doing at the National Grid site. So if it doesn't pass, it doesn't pass. But is it 11 Canal, 35 Canal?
Hold on and let me see these here. So,
I just want to be able to sleep at
Yeah.
night, that I at least tried to get ground floor retail at the National Grid site. Yeah, it's basically Spatafora, what is that? It's like the junkyard, and then, yeah. I think it's 11 Canal Street, 35 Canal Street.
okay. So one of the properties, which is on the corner of Center Street, is 124 Center Street. That's on the corner of Center and Canal. And that's parcel ID 053-235-506. Then you have 11 Canal, which is 053-235-507. And then you have 35 Canal, which is 053-255-508. And then you have the three National Grid parcels. One is 102 Commercial Street, which is parcel 053-235-501A. You have no number Commercial Street, which is the one on the corner. That's parcel 053-235-501B. And then you have a small third parcel that's just called Center Street, and that's 053-235-502. So that block is 6 parcels.
That would be, my motion would be to change the 6 parcels just read by the city planner from MC, MOD, MC to MMU, which would require ground floor retail. I'd appreciate a second.
Okay, so hold on a second, I just want to make sure I get it. So we already have a motion on the floor, it's been seconded. Okay, then that was to move the paper. Okay. So now we get a motion to amend the paper. So, but before we do any of that, I would like to say a couple of things.
You're not on.
Okay. I can put my microphone on. Thank you. I need a handler, and I have 2 of them, thank God. So anyway, for those of you who couldn't hear me, we have a motion on the floor by Councilor Crowe, seconded by Councilor Sika. No motion is made, normally that's the next order of business that happens. I did ask that we all be able to speak because many people hadn't spoken, including myself. I gave folks a chance to speak multiple times, and I have not spoken yet. Now we have another motion on the floor. I'm going to go to our parliamentarian in a minute, or our legal department, but I do believe that Councilor Crowe's motion is the first one to be moved on. But I will confirm that with our parliamentarian. But I do want to just say I do want to say from the chair a couple of things. First of all, Councilor O'Malley, in deference to you, I understand what you're trying to do, and I know you do want to sleep at night, but I also just personally have a difficulty trying to change this document tonight. We have had a task force working on it for months now. They have gone through many iterations. They have come to the table with what they believe is the best. On the actual team is two of our counselors who I think are, we have a counselor at large and a ward counselor who used to be a counselor at large, who I believe are looking at the overall magnitude, of this process and trying to find a balance as to how we might be able to move this paper forward. So I'm very, find it difficult to make a change like this tonight, not knowing what the impact would be. And that's a problem, especially with the timeline that we're facing, if we actually are in fact going to try to move this paper forward to be in compliance, to be able to apply for grants. So that bothers me. The unknown of what you're trying to do bothers me. Having said that, I'm not a big fan of this whole process itself. Not that any of the work that the team has done, but I have very similar feelings to Councilor Condon and Councilor Simonelli. And the fact that we as a city for the last 25 years have had the MBTA here in our community, and we've had good things happen because the T was here. We've had bad things happen because the T was here. I mean, it depends on how you look at things. I think Malden is finally coming out of its own, it's coming out of its shell, and it's just kind of morphing into a new community. One of the things that's impacted us recently, and I know the mayor did not sign on to one of the housing initiatives with a number of the other mayors, because we know that more housing creates more impact on our schools. We also know that our school funding formula does not work in our favor. So, when you start to combine the fact that we're going to build more housing, much needed as it might be, it's usually at a higher income level, okay, which has a detrimental effect on our school funding. And I also find it really annoying, personally, that yes, other communities are probably having this discussion, but there's really only, 12 of us who
12
actually...
rapid transit.
12 of us, 12 out of 365 communities that fall into this area where we have a thumb being put on us to make us do this, to an extent that's going to impact the 5 square miles that we have here and the 70,000 people that we have here. When you talk about someplace like Winchester, okay, or Melrose that, isn't, a transit-oriented community, they have bus stops, they have the commuter rail, they're not being, I'm going to use the word penalized, they're not being penalized or forced like we are being forced to do this, to build to such an extent. Now, granted, in the end, maybe it's only 500 units and not 6,000, but it still is, what did I say? One of the things we wanted to do, Ms. Burke, we wanted to put the fact that we in Malden signed on to the Declaration of Independence as, one of the first communities in this, that existed, okay, before the Revolutionary War. And I kind of feel like we're at that point right now. We are being forced to do something that the British wanted the revolutionaries to do 200 years ago, and now our own government, okay, in Boston is forcing us to do this. So I really struggle with the manner in which this is being done to us, presented to us, and as Councilor Condon said, I actually did tell him I was going to get the figure, and I didn't. And I will have it before we get to the next public hearing, about how much we pay out of our tax dollars for the privilege of having the Malden Tea Center and the Oak Grove Tea Station in our community. And I don't think a lot of people realize the amount of money that we actually pay for that privilege. And now because we pay for that privilege and we have that privilege, we are being forced to do something that probably is not in the best interest of our community. So that's what I wanted to say tonight for the general public to hear. Am I going to vote to move this to a joint ordinance and planning board committee? Yes, I am, because I would like to hear from the experts that are going to come in that night. And I would say that every counselor okay, needs to be at that meeting and listen to this and not come because they're not on ordinance. So having said that, Councilor O'Malley, I'm going to defer to the parliamentarian to see which motion goes first.
We actually have a motion to refer to committee that needs to be taken first.
Okay, so the motion to refer to committee needs to be taken first, I'm sorry.
I mean, can I?
So,
This is a motion to refer to planning board.
okay, so on Councilor Crow's motion to refer to a joint planning board and ordinance committee meeting, the clerk will, seconded by Council Seeker, the clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Yes. Councilor Condon. Yes. Councilor Crowe. Yes. Councilor McDonald. Yes. Councilor O'Malley.
So if we did this, then we wouldn't be able to amend the paper? If we did this, we won't be able to amend it?
I think you won't be able to amend it, but you will be able to, from what I understand, there will be opportunity, if this does get passed, and we are compliant with the state, what I heard said was that there will be ample opportunity in 2024 to amend the paper based on the information that we get from the master planning situation.
Is there a way it can be both? Can it be both mixed use and Malden Center?
We can't have debate in the middle of the
Oh,
vote.
yeah.
Yeah,
So, all right, so there's,
okay.
Councilor O'Malley, yes or no?
all right,
Yes, sure.
Councilor Seeker. Yes. Councilor Simonelli. Councilor Spatafora.
Yes.
Councilor Winslow. Council President Murphy.
yes. Paper will be referred to a joint planning and ordinance committee meeting. And I would have everyone hold December 5th as the date of that meeting. Tuesday, December 5th, 7 p.m. I don't think you can.
Thank you.
Because,
I finally found that map that she sent.
I didn't know what you were looking for.
Paper 419-23, order that the Human Resource Director advertise to fill the pending vacancy in the legal department for city solicitor.
yeah, Council, hold on one second, my screen just went back. Councilor Simonelli as Vice Chair of Personnel.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm just filling in for Council Lenahan, who's on vacation. And, this is a job description, and we'd like to vote this out tonight favorably on the floor so we can get it posted, so we can hurry up and move city business along so we can get a city solicitor. I don't, again, I was chairman of this committee last year, vice chair this year. I don't see any reason why we can't vote this on the floor so we can fast track it to get it posted. Thank you, Council President.
Seconded, and just a little more information for those of you who don't know, our current city solicitor, John McNaught, has put in his retirement papers. His retirement will be effective once again December 5th. It's the day of December. I said the 25th. So he will be retiring, and this job description is the same job description that we used to hire him 18 months ago. The only change in it is the salary schedule has been updated to reflect the current salary schedule due to raises that have occurred. So we have a motion by Councilor Simonelli, seconded by Councilor Seeker. The clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Yes. Councilor Condon. Yes. Councilor Crowe. Yes. Councilor McDonald. Yes. Councilor O'Malley. Yes. Councilor Seeker. Yes. Councilor Simonelli.
Yes.
Councilor Spatafora.
Yes.
Councilor Winslow. Yes. Council President Murphy.
Yes. Thank you, Councilor Simonelli. Next order of business, please.
Paper 420-23, resolve. Whereas St. Paul's Church, Malden of the Episcopal Church, Diocese of Massachusetts occupies an important place in Malden, both physically and socially. Whereas the church building situated at the corner of Washington and Florence Streets in the center of downtown Malden is on the National Register of Historic Spaces for both its exterior and interior design. Whereas the church has extended and now extends hospitality to many organizations in Malden, including Bread of Life, where that organization was founded, local musicians and artists, the Girl Scouts, and many 12-step groups. Whereas the architecture of the church, Ralph Adams Cram, is known as the architect of many important churches and educational institutions, include the West Point Military Academy, the Cathedral Church of St. John the Divine in NYC, the buildings at schools such as Princeton, Williams, and Notre Dame. Whereas St. Paul's Church was consecrated as a place of worship on November 16, 1913. Whereas St. Paul's Parish will celebrate the 110th anniversary of its consecration on Sunday, November 19, 2023, with a festive morning service at 10 a.m. and a free talk and reception at 2 p.m. from Ethan Anthony, an expert on Cram and current principal at Cram and Ferguson Architects. Therefore, be it hereby resolved that it is the sense of the Malden City Council that the City of Malden congratulates St. Paul's Parish on the 110th anniversary of the consecration of their historic church.
Councilor O'Malley for the resolve.
Thank you, Madam President. St. Paul's Parish is one of the religious institutions in Ward 4. They are celebrating their 110th anniversary of the consecration of their building. It's one of the only, as you heard, buildings in the city that's on the National Historic Register. They hold different concerts there, like Downton Abbey, musical things there. They have a lot of great things, so I just want to congratulate them on the 110th anniversary. One of the interesting things about the church is, and I'm not actually 100% sure on the name of the family, but it was actually funded and built by two sisters in our community, who I believe were the Atwood sisters, but I will find out very quickly if I'm incorrect on that. So they do invite everyone to come down to the church on Sunday, November 19th. To celebrate a festival there, just kind of really celebrating the building, and that is at 2 p.m. I do know they also wanted to give their thanks to Councilor Crowe and the YWCA Malden for all of their great partnerships that they've had over the years. So congratulations to them, and I'd appreciate your support on this non-binding resolve.
On Councilor O'Malley's motion to pass the resolve, seconded by Councilor Crowe. All those, the clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Yes. Councilor Condon. Yes. Councilor Crowe. Yes. Councilor McDonald. Yes. Councilor O'Malley. Yes. Councilor Seega. Yes. Councilor Simonelli. Yes. Councilor Spatafora.
Yes.
Councilor Winslow. Yes. Council President Murphy.
Yes. Resolve is passed. Next order of business, please.
Paper 362-23, this is an enrolled ordinance. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Malden that the Code of the City of Malden 2.20.020 Elected Official Salary Classification Plan is hereby amended by inserting the following language underneath the salary chart. In order to keep pace with inflation and the cost of living, the Human Resource Director shall report to the Mayor and the City Council for their consideration by September 1 of odd-numbered years the following: what the average percentage salary increase for city employees has been in the prior 2 years, and what a comparable change would be for the salaries of elected officials.
On Councilor Crow's motion to ordain, seconded by Councilor McDonald, the clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Yes. Councilor Condon. Yes. Councilor Crowe. Yes. Councilor McDonald. Yes. Councilor O'Malley. Yes. Councilor Seega. Yes. Councilor Simonelli. Yes. Councilor Spatafora.
Yes.
Councilor Winslow. Yes. Council President Murphy.
Yes. Okay, next order.
Bless you.
Next order of business.
Paper 422-23, Committee Report. The Standing Committee on Rules and Ordinance in a joint session with Finance Committee, to whom was referred papers 372, 373, 374, 375, 376, series of 2023, having considered the same, make the following report.
On Councilor Crow's motion to receive the committee report, clerk will call the roll.
Counselor Cologne Hayes. Counselor Condon. Counselor Crowe. Counselor McDonald. Counselor O'Malley. Counselor Seega. Counselor Simonelli. Counselor Spatafora.
Yes.
Counselor Winslow. Council President Murphy.
Yes. The committee report is received. The clerk will read the first two papers.
The first two papers. Paper 372-23, be it ordained by the Malden City Council that the Code of the City of Malden is hereby amended by updating Title II, Chapter 24, Section .040, Parking Enforcement Officer's Salary Schedule. Paper 373-23, be it ordained by the Malden City Council that the Code of the City of Malden be hereby amended by updating Title II, Chapter 24, Section .090, Public Works Supervisor's Salary Schedule.
Councilor Crowe for the paper.
Thank you, Madam President. Earlier this evening, the Finance and Ordinance Committee met to discuss these two proposals. These both and the Ordinance Committee then creates the ordinance, and then the Finance Committee funds the ordinance that we created in the salary schedule. So for these two, just really quickly, the parking enforcement officers, their contract was up the beginning of July 1. And so this really gives them a 3%. So they really go from an hourly wage of $21.27 to $21.91. So they're really going up only 30 cents. So I do think it's important that we, support them as quickly as we can. And then for the public works supervisors, there were really only 4 in that union, and they have been without a contract since 2018. So because of some negotiations, and they, as Mr. Hatch had mentioned today, they really were kind of going back and to have respectful negotiations. And so this moves their contract from 2018 up to 2023 and moves forward. So again, it is, the first part is about 4% that gets the 2018 to the 2023, and then 3% going forward, around roughly. So I think, these both ordinances, some of it is short money, some of it is, the other ordinance is really people that have been waiting for this for 5 years. And so I make a motion that we enroll.
On Councilor Crow's motion to enroll papers 372-23 and 373-23, seconded by Councilor Simonelli, the clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Yes. Councilor Condon. Yes. Councilor Crowe.
Yes.
Councilor McDonald. Yes. Councilor O'Malley. Councilor Seega.
Yes.
Councilor Simonelli. Yes. Councilor Spatafora.
Yes.
Councilor Winslow. Council President Murphy.
Yes.
I make a motion to suspend.
Going to recess for a second. We're missing.
We need to get Councilor O'Malley.
We need to get Councilor O'Malley back. I don't know where he went. I didn't realize he left. Yeah, you missed a vote, and now we're suspending docket rules.
We're gonna call it O'Malley
We just
rule.
enrolled, now we're gonna suspend docket rules to ordain, so I wanted you back, yeah. Okay.
O'Malley, do you care to vote on paper 372, motion to enroll?
It's the salary changes for the
The salary
parking
schedule.
enforcement and the public works supervisors. Okay. Yay, okay. Now, we have a
I
motion.
make a motion to suspend
Council rules.
council rules for the purposes of ordaining.
Okay, seconded by Councilor Simonelli. Clerk will call the roll to suspend. Clerk will call the roll to suspend council rules.
Councilor Cologne Hayes.
Yes.
Councilor Condon. Yes. Councilor Crowe.
Yes.
Councilor McDonald. Yes. Councilor O'Malley. Yes. Councilor Seega.
Yes.
Councilor Simonelli. Yes. Counselor Spatafora.
Yes.
Counselor Winslow. Council President Murphy.
Yes. The
I
rules
make a
have been
motion
suspended.
make a motion to ordain.
On Counselor Crow's motion to ordain, seconded by Counselor Winslow.
Counselor
Clerk
Clone
will call the
Hayes.
roll.
Yes.
Counselor Condon. Yes. Counselor Crowe.
Yes.
Counselor McDonald. Yes. Counselor O'Malley. Yes. Counselor Seega. Yes. Counselor Simonelli. Counselor Spatafora.
Yes.
Counselor Winslow. Council President Murphy.
Yes. So,
Now,
okay,
Councilor McDonald, fund them.
Both papers have been ordained. Now, the clerk, will give her a moment, to get herself together here, and then the clerk will read the next three papers, which all basically they go in tandem with the two ordinances that we just ordained.
Paper 374-23 ordered that the sum of $10,000 is transferred from salary reserve to parking salaries. Paper 375-23 ordered that the sum of $70,000 is transferred from salary reserve to DPW labor salaries. Paper 376-23 ordered that the sum of $30,000 is transferred from salary reserve to cemetery labor salaries.
Councilor McDonald for the papers.
Yes, so these then, these appropriations will then fund the changes that we just made. Let me clarify a couple of things. First is that they'll all be effective as of July 1 of this fiscal year. So that does, that's the sum you'll see for the parking salaries. The DPW labor salaries and cemetery labor salaries, that salary schedule for public works supervisors includes the cemetery supervisor who is in a different part of the budget. So that's why we have two separate papers there. And we also learned that because there's been such a delay in getting the getting the new contract in place, that there's a payment to address that long, lack of cost of living adjustment, that goes into effect with the signing of the agreement. So this appropriation covers those payments as well to the folks in those bargaining units. So we had a great little summary about that from our CFO, Controller Rannigan, and Maria Louise from the Mayor's Office.
So on Councilor McDonald's motion to adopt the orders, seconded by Councilor Crowe had her hand up for us, sorry. Oh, sorry, did you want? I'm sorry.
I just want to say thank you to the ordinance committee and the finance committee for their work on this. I do also want to say thank you to the DPW laborers and the cemetery laborers for all their hard work. If there's ever workers in our community who really deserve raises, it's the people who are keeping our streets safe, keeping our cemetery looking beautiful. As someone who uses it frequently to visit family members who are buried there, I am really appreciative of all the work that y'all do. So I'm really appreciative to be able to vote on this tonight and look forward to passing it swiftly. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Winslow?
Yeah, and as I said in committee, I very much agree with Councilor O'Malley there, and especially so important to make sure that our supervisors' salaries are competitive and that, it's money well spent to retain our hardworking employees. It's a benefit beyond just their work, their experience and their dedication above and beyond is great. So appreciate the work of both the Laborers Union and the mayor's staff for getting this done after this delay, but appreciate the dedication and making sure this happens for everybody. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so back to the roll call.
This is a motion to adopt all three papers.
Yes.
That's correct.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Yes. Councilor Condon. Yes. Councilor Crowe. Yes. Councilor McDonald.
Yes.
Councilor O'Malley. Yes. Councilor Seega. Yes. Councilor Simonelli. Yes. Councilor Spatafora.
Yes.
Councilor Winslow. Council President Murphy.
Yes. The three orders have been adopted. Next order of business, please.
Paper 423-23 Committee Report, the Standing Committee on License, to whom was referred papers 368, 369, 370, and 371, series of 2023. Having considered the same, make the following reports.
On Councilor Crow's motion, on Councilor Seeker's motion to receive the committee report, the clerk will, seconded by Councilor Condon, the clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Yes. Councilor Condon. Yes. Councilor Crowe. Yes. Counselor McDonald. Counselor O'Malley. Counselor Seega. Counselor Simonelli. Counselor Spatafora.
Yes.
Counselor Winslow. Council President Murphy.
Yes, the papers have been received, the committee report has been received. The clerk will read the papers.
368-23, petition livery, Murat Emin, 607 Highland Avenue, Malden, one vehicle new. Paper 369-23, petition outdoor parking, Northeast Transport and Snow Services, Inc., 531 Rear Broadway, Malden, 10 spaces renewal. Paper 370-23, petition bowling alley, Town Line 10-pin Corp. 665 Broadway, Malden, 48 lanes renewal. Paper 371-23, petition pool tables, Town Line 10-pin Corp. 665 Broadway, Malden, 15 tables renewal.
Councilor Seeger for the committee.
Thank you. The License Committee met this evening on these 4 petitions. The livery vehicle is new, and the other 3 are renewals. The compliance guys had no issues with any of the locations. The petitions were granted, reported out favorably from the committee, so motion to grant.
On Councilor Seeger's motion to grant the petition, seconded by Councilor Condon, clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Councilor Condon. Yes. Councilor Crowe. Yes. Councilor McDonald. Councilor McDonald. Yes. Councilor O'Malley. Yes. Councilor Seega.
Yes.
Councilor Simonelli. Councilor Spatafora.
Yes.
Councilor Winslow. Council President Murphy.
Yes, petitions have been granted. Next order of business.
This is the docket.
The docket is clear. Do we have personal privilege? Councilor Winslow, first on the mic there.
So just one point on the table, paper 21423. I wouldn't necessarily want to take it off the table tonight, but I think in 2 weeks we should try to prepare to take that one off. I know I had read, I had asked for some information related to making sure we knew this was some conduit down by the corner of Charles and Main Street, and I had asked for some clarification of plans, especially how it's impacting the northern strand, and the applicant did get that in. So I think in a couple weeks we should just plan to take that off the table and just to make it aware. And then I did have some personal privileges as well. So I'll be talking to Bob Knox. It is November. We haven't had snow yet, but it can happen sooner than we think. And one of the things, if anybody knows anybody who wants to do snow removal, I think we do want to make sure people do that, and we will need, we can always use more contractors who are interested in plowing and that type of thing. So just reach out to DPW and our procurement people. And then the other thing, I just want to say we had our Future of Maplewood Square committee last night, and we have some really neat designs for some extra decorations in Maplewood Square. So looking forward to that. I don't have a date, but sometime after the Saturday after Thanksgiving, we'll do something there to kind of do an unveiling and stuff like that. So we're looking to kind of brighten up Maplewood Square this year and have some nice things to happen there. Thank you, and everybody have a good Thanksgiving. Take care.
Thank you, Councilor Winslow. Councilor Spatafora.
Thank you, Madam President. Going along with the holiday season, I do want to remind everybody, well, first of all, wish everybody happy Thanksgiving. It's a great time of the year. Myself and Maria Louise are coordinating again this year the meal delivery for the Bread of Life, which is the Francis and Barbara Brown Thanksgiving meal, which is served every year from 12 to 2 at Malden High School, which is 77 Salem Street. So if you need a meal, please, you can reach out to the Bread of Life to coordinate that. And if you are a client of Mystic Valley Elderly Service, you can sign up through them. There's 2 different ways to do that. So I want to make sure to remind people of that. We always are in need of food and drivers. Last year, I think, was one of the busiest years we've had in terms of geography. I think the mayor actually went towards Boston to drop off a meal. So it's there's never enough. And so that is something I think we have to continue to look for. Also, after Thanksgiving, we are doing the annual tree lighting ceremony in the Fellsmere Pond. Myself and Councilor Linehan will be doing that. And this year, besides the visit from our friend from the North Pole, something I've always wanted to be doing, the mayor helped me, is we're going to have the Malden Choral Arts Society come and sing some festive songs in addition to having the visitor from the North Pole, the tree lighting, and some cookies and hot chocolate for everybody who attends. This year, we'll start at 5 o'clock, the festivities. We plan on lighting the tree around 6, at least that's what it says, based on sunset. And once we light the tree, everybody's free to go to Malden High's having their pasta dinner as well that day. So a lot of things happening next week, but I want to thank everybody for a great year and look forward to next year, and happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Thank you, Councilor Spatafora. Councilor O'Malley.
Thank you, Council President. Earlier, when I was thanking the laborers in the DPW and the cemetery, I did not mean to leave off the parking enforcement officers. I wasn't aware that we were also changing their salary schedule. So I also want to give a shout out to them. They're great. They are very efficient, and do not pay your meter. They will get you. So just make sure you pay your meter downtown. I also wanted to say, you know, I promised that I was going to get us norm gnomes. So everyone has little norm gnomes in front of them here tonight. I think technically they might be trolls, but I think they're close. You can put them on top of your pen. You can put them on top of your pencil. Y'all should have one.
I didn't get one.
No, yes, you so did.
I didn't get one either.
Yeah, you did. Someone who's stealing the gnomes. Where'd they go? There's. Well, yeah, sorry, I saw them zooming in. You want to zoom in again? Hold on, zoom in again. All right, there you go. These are our norm gnomes, but maybe trolls. Thank you.
No, I gave yours to JD. I didn't realize I thought you
I used to collect those when I was a kid.
That's very cute, Councilor O'Malley. I do have to say that brightened up the day. I feel better now knowing I have.
I wouldn't have excluded you.
I think it's a troll, but you know, I am Mother Nature, and we build houses and Fairy House Festival for gnomes, trolls, elves, fairies, whatever we need a house for. So you might have to come to the Fairy House Festival. So anyway, Councilor Sika.
Thank you, Council President. So I too want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and holiday season starting next week. I just want to take a few minutes to talk about the Bread of Life Thanksgiving dinner. We are picking up turkeys this Thursday. We're going to be passing them out from the Bread of Life this Friday. I want to thank Anthony Dakotas at Town Line 10 Pin, Tony Bartolo at Tony's Auto Body, Paul Murphy from Murphy Insurance, Louis Barretto from L&L Trucking, and Pat Tedesco from Tedesco Towing. They are the sponsors of this year's Bread of Life Thanksgiving dinner. They donated to Councilor Spatafora and I for all of the 120 turkeys that we'll be picking up this Thursday at various supermarkets across the area. We are still in need of about 60 people to cook turkey, so if anybody, there's a link on the Bread of Life Facebook page that you can sign up for cooking a turkey. If you don't have access to Facebook, you can reach out to Councilor Spatafora or I, or call the Bread of Life. The turkeys will need to be dropped off on Wednesday between the hours of 4 and 7 at Malden High School. So we'll be passing the turkeys out this Friday from the Bread of Life on Madison Street. So that is one. And then Councilor Spatafora and I are once again happy to announce that we will be sponsoring the Holiday Toy Drive with the Malden Police Department and the Malden Fire Department. We have posted on various Facebook sites, the Malden Police, the Malden Fire, wish list for the families that we have with all the toys. Our phones have been ringing daily. I think I got my first message at 7 a.m. this morning, asking to be put on this list. If any families are in need this year of toys for the holidays, please reach out to Councilor Spatafora or myself, or you can call Detective Renee Kelly at the Malden Police Department to be put on the list of families to get help from us this holiday season. They will notify you when we'll be doing drop-offs for those toys, and it's a great event. So I think that is, oh, and I want to wish Malden Cyclones, we have 2 cheer teams this past weekend that qualified for nationals at the regional competition in Springfield on Saturday. We have little girls are going, and then there's a C team, I think. They're not called letters anymore. I think it's something else, but I'm not quite sure. But Jackie Rinaldi's team and my daughter and Cassadi's team are heading to Disney the first week of December. So congratulations to the cheerleaders of Malden Pop Warner. The boys weren't so lucky this weekend, as they both teams that advanced last week with their division title did not qualify for moving on this past weekend, but it's the first time in years that I can remember that Malden Pop Warner football teams actually brought home some hardware. So I think that they deserve, a little special shout out because they came a long way. They had an undefeated season up until this past Saturday. So pretty neat accomplishment. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Sika. Councilor McDonald.
Yeah, thank you. On a somber note, I just want to recognize Monday is International Transgender Day of Remembrance, when we honor lives lost to anti-trans bigotry and violence. So there are a number of faith communities and other groups that will have memorial services on Monday. And then just echoing we're starting the holiday season. Happy Thanksgiving. And I believe the Medford Malden football game is in Medford this year, right? It's at Hormel Stadium on Thanksgiving morning. I looked this up, so I'm hoping.
Hopefully you got it right.
I hope I got it right. 10 a.m. So while I am not an MHS grad, I'm always happy to say go Malden, beat Medford. Yeah.
Thank you. Councilor Simonelli.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. I see everybody made it back from the election process unscathed, so I'm glad to see everybody back so we can get some work done. I appreciate it. So I just want to let Ward 7 folks know that, if you want to give me a call, if anybody needs Thanksgiving dinner, just give me a call and we'll put you on the list. We'll be out on Thanksgiving Day handing out Thanksgiving dinners to families, and we're going to be down at Suffolk Manor bringing some food down there, so if any of the folks are shut in down there, they can come out to the community room and get something to eat on Thanksgiving. So, and then we're also going to be working on the holiday lighting down at Lincoln Commons once again, and I think we're shooting for the Saturday after Thanksgiving to do the actual lighting. And I don't know if you were there last year, but it was a really good event. A lot of people down there. The park really looks nice and bright. So we're going to add some stuff this year to the park. So it should be a pretty good event. The Saturday after. Did I say day after? The Saturday after Thanksgiving. We're shooting for to light it up. So I think the DPW will be down there. You'll be seeing them down there starting to put the lights up on the poles. So I think that's all I got for tonight. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Simonelli. Councilor Clone Hayes.
Yes, thank you. I want to say that, happy Thanksgiving to everyone, and I always miss some of these big events like the Thanksgiving Day dinner with the Bread of Life and the game. I go to New York to visit my family, so I'm sorry I won't be here for that, but I do want to let people know that on this Saturday, November 18th, at the Amani Temple Church, we'll be giving out a turkey and Thanksgiving distribution at 264 Salem Street. You don't have to sign up or register. You can pick your stuff up early. If you're going to be home and cooking, you can do that. And since Councilor Linehan is not here, I want to give a shout out to Mary Malden. They're already working on getting lists, just like Councilor Sika was saying. And let's see, you can request by December 4th at marymalden2023@gmail.com. They also have a Facebook page, and just a shout out to Dawn Macklin and Amanda Linehan for keeping this going. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Hayes, Cologne Hayes. Councilor Crowe.
Thank you, Madam President. So happy Thanksgiving. I'm sorry that you're not here for the Bread of Life. It really is quite a great day for everybody. So I hope everybody gets involved, make some turkeys, just some carving. of the turkeys, and definitely I love the giving of the Christmas presents and all that work that happened. So thank you all for doing that, and I'll be happy to participate. I did want to just mention on a totally different kind of note, as Councilor Winslow had mentioned about not taking something off the table tonight, but one of those, if you remember, this is on Charles Street going up Main Street to Madison Street, and they wanted to do conduit, and there was some question about how that impacts the bike lanes. But one of the other things that was a question that was never answered, that I've been trying to get an answer from, is when they do that conduit underground there, is a pole going to be popped up, or that going to be coming down the line later? Is it, because one of the things we have in our ordinance is we're not adding a pole for the sole purpose of Wi-Fi. And so it was not necessarily answered if they can get on one of those poles or it's going to be something else. So that's why it's kind of, we said, let's meet until we can get that answer. So I will work on that with Councilor Spatafor, who brought that up the last time at the hearing, just to see, so we can take that off the table and have the hearing and let them know ahead of time. I know that they've been reaching out to Carol Ann Desiderio. I've got city clerk. I was going to call you something else, but anyway, anyway, so we will take care of that. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Crowe. Just, from the chair, I also would like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. And I just wanted to add to what Councilor Sika was saying about Bread of Life. Although turkeys are certainly a big part of our Thanksgiving dinner, there are a number of other accoutrements. Is that what you would say? That's Councilor Crowe. Accoutrements. I would just like to say there's other things that have to go in the dishes on the table. And I do know Bread of Life is looking for things like mashed potatoes, stovetop stuffing, cranberry sauce, things that they can give out during their food bank process. So you might not be able to cook a turkey, but if you want to make a donation to Bread of Life of things that you might like to have on your Thanksgiving table so other people could have it on theirs, I know they'd be very much appreciative of that. And then this is stretching out a little bit far, but Santa is, I did hear from the North Pole recently, and Santa is making his appearance at Pine Banks Park on Saturday the 16th. And that is actually Santa's 74th visit to Pine Banks Park. So it is, a long-standing Malden tradition. We will have hot chocolate and cookies there. Santa will be there with a number of characters, and it's from 2 to 6 p.m. on Saturday the 16th. I'll be announcing it more as we get a little bit closer, but people might want to put that in their calendar. So anyway, with that, seeing no other lights on, I have a motion to adjourn from Councilor O'Malley, seconded by Councilor Simonelli. The clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Yes. Councilor Condon. Yes. Councilor Crowe. Yes. Councilor McDonald. Yes. Councilor O'Malley. Yes. Councilor Sika. Yes. Councilor Simonelli. Yes. Councilor Spatafora.
Yes.
Councilor Winslow. Yes. Council President Murphy.
Yes. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you.